Hello everyone, Casey here, and welcome to my review for Katawa Shoujo. Katawa Shoujo is an interactive novel created by 4-Leaf Studios and was released on January 4th, 2012. I came across this game thanks to a friend of mine, and boy am I very thankful I did. Katawa Shoujo is the very first interactive novel I ever experienced. Usually I'm not interested in, such games, but I had an odd urge to want to play one, and when speaking to my friend about it, he told me to forget about any others and sent me a link to the download page of Katawa Shoujo. I went to the page and was immediately doubting and questioning what I saw. See, at the time I knew nothing about the game besides, what I was reading and seeing on the official site. I saw that you play as a young man named Hisao, who for one reason or another is trying to date many of the girls who attend a school for students with disabilities. Oh, and it was created by the users of 4chan, which if you know anything about the web, you know that 4chan can be a rather dark hole sometimes. As I started to open my mouth and argue with my friend about his insistence on me downloading this, I decided that he rarely led me astray in the past and deserved the benefit of the doubt. So I downloaded the game, and I sat on my computer untouched for a good week before I found time to start it up and play. Going into the game, I knew only a handful of things about it. The girls were disabled, it was a reading experience and involved very little to no gameplay, and of course, there were indeed going to be pornographic scenes. Again, since this was a creation of 4chan after all, I expected the nudity to take front stage and be constant and of course, very explicit. So as I hit the start button for the first time, I'm surprised to be instantly greeted with beautiful music, the kind I very rarely come across these days, that tell a story all on their own. I'll come back to the music more in just a moment here. But I was also greeted with the very first piece of art that my eyes would consume on my journey. A beautiful scene of snow-covered trees. The scene changes after just a moment, and I'm introduced to the game's main protagonist, Hisao Nakai. He is standing across from a young, pretty girl that he obviously has a crush on. The reading becomes rather sweet right from the go, as he confesses his love for Awanako, and shortly afterwards, Hisao suffers a heart attack. A literal heart attack. The mood changes so fast and so dramatically that it comes to a complete shock to me. From that point on, I realized that this game is going to be so much more than I originally had thought. As the introduction song plays and the opening cinematic starts to show, I become completely invested in this interactive novel. It took all of roughly 4 or 5 minutes for me to feel and immerse myself into what is happening. Hisao awakes in the hospital to find out that he has cardiac arrhythmia, a very rare heart condition that will prove to change his life forever. After spending many months in the hospital, one day the doctor comes in and tells Hisao that he will be free to go. However, he has recommended to Hisao's parents that he be transferred to a different school, a school that is better properly equipped to handle and help Hisao with his newfound condition. It's safe to say that Hisao is less than thrilled at this idea, but as it turns out, he has very little say on the matter. Once Hisao arrives at Yamaku Academy is when the novel truly begins. As you start meeting your fellow students and teachers, a little bit of a fish out of water story begins. You see, Hisao feels like he doesn't quite belong here. Not only that, he is unsure how to address and talk to the other students, especially some of whom have more physical disabilities. But as time passes and you progress, you start to meet the girls in which will possibly become your love interests. Unless you're just absolutely horrible to them, in which case, hey, there's always Kenji. The very first time through the story for myself, I refused to use any flowcharts or anything. I wanted all of my answers to reflect on how I would actually handle the situations. There are not all that many choices you have to make in the game, but the few that there are, I was determined to make them my own. As I progressed, I found that I was on the path of Emi Ibarazaki, the school's best runner on the track team. She also happens to be missing both of her legs from the knee down. I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable here as I say these next few lines, but I feel it is important. I was playing this game very shortly after my ex-girlfriend and I broke up. I was very much sad most of the days, and found very little reason to do much of anything besides eat, stay in bed. Life was getting pretty rough for me, as I found most nights I just stare at the ceiling, dwelling, thinking. But it's not all doom and gloom, you see. This game came into my life at precisely the moment in which I needed it most. This game made me feel those loving connections with people again. After a while, I began to wake up every day, looking forward to see what I would do next in Katawa Shoujo. The reason being is because, well, the expertly written characters. Every single character in this interactive novel feels completely fleshed out and authentic. Each person has their own stories and histories, all of which help to make the world of Katawa Shoujo seem very, very real. Anyway, back on track now. There are other girls, of course, in the game as well besides Emi. There's Emi's odd but delightful friend Rin Tezuka, who is an amazing artist. She's very dedicated and sees the world unlike anyone else around her. She also happens to be missing both of her arms, and so is required to paint using her feet and mouth. There is the adorable but extremely shy and skittish Hanako Ikazawa, whose beautiful long dark hair conceals scars that stretch across nearly her entire right side of her body. Lily Soto is the class representative of 3-2. She is very proper, polite, and above all, kind. She has beautiful long golden hair, and is probably one of the tallest girls at the school. Lily is, however, blind and cannot see. Then there is the student council president Shizune Hakamichi, who is often rash, forceful, and very strong-willed. Shizune is both deaf and mute, though she rarely ever lets this get in the way of telling you what she wants. This is made even easier thanks to her interpreter, Misha, who is very rarely ever seen without Shizune. I'm not sure if anyone noticed, but I introduced each of the girls with their name first, maybe a fact or two about them, and then I said what each of their disabilities are. I did this because the game makes a very strong point to put each character first. Who they are, their motivations, their personalities, their interests, and so on. In fact, the disabilities are rarely ever the subject of a conversation in the game, a very respectable aspect, if I may add. I also think that it's important to note that each girl's story is completely different and separate from the others. This is amazing, as it offers essentially 5 or 6 complete unique stories bundled together in the same world. If I were to sit here and tell you all about everything that I enjoyed about this game, this review would easily last over an hour or 2. So I'll have to be a little bit more direct than I would like to for the sake of time. The characters in Katawa Shoujo are all very well written. None of them are ever boring or dull, and only one of the characters in the game is ever annoying, and I think we all know which one. And if you don't, it's Kenji. Kenji is easily the most annoying part of the entire experience. However, he even started to grow on me as I was hitting my last playthrough or 2. Many of the stories, especially Lily, had me in tears, for both really happy things and incredibly touching and even sad moments. This game will throw a lot of feels your direction, so if you're not into that sort of thing, this game is more than likely not going to be for you. The music is absolutely beautiful. Amazing pieces that match what is happening in the story and on screen perfectly. Sometimes the music makes you feel more than words could ever. I'm going to pause for just a moment as I let one of my favorites play, and hopefully you can feel and see what I mean. Absolutely powerful stuff. The art design in the game is also fantastic. Each character looks incredible and beautiful. Even the full motion animation looks good. While it certainly isn't the best I've ever seen, it offers a unique moment of seeing these people that you're learning so much about, and in some cases love, move and interact with the world. The first time that I saw Hanako's animation, it brought more than just a tear to my eye. Katawa Shoujo is so much more than just a game. It is so much more than just a novel. While you read it, I promise you, you will forget about everything else in the world. It has a magic unlike anything else. It will capture your heart. It will make you laugh. It will make you cry. And above all, it will make you feel. Even if you have the slightest passing interest in this game, I could not recommend it more to you. And if you're concerned about the pornographic scenes, you really shouldn't be. They are far and few in between. And if they affect or bother you that much, there is the option to turn them off altogether. However, I feel that in some cases these H scenes add to the story and complement it very well because the scenes are very tastefully done. Not ever at one moment did I feel like I was reading a Playboy magazine or some pornography. The scenes are very touching, and in more than one instance, I feel that crucial character development occurs in these moments. But hey, that's just my opinion, I suppose. Anyway, if I were to give a score to Katawa Shoujo, it would easily earn a perfect score. However, I feel like even that doesn't give this title justice. So I will leave you all with this. If you want to experience something that may quite literally change your outlook on life and the world around you, then play Katawa Shoujo. You will not regret it.